Burkina Faso, a landlocked nation in West Africa, has long struggled with desertification, food insecurity, and economic hardship. But now, something truly unprecedented is happening under the bold and visionary leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. A new green revolution is taking root. In a move that has shocked and inspired the African continent, Traoré has announced an ambitious plan to plant 20 million trees across Burkina Faso, setting in motion what many are calling a new era for the nation. This isn't just about reforestation. It's about reclaiming the future. So, why is this move so important? And why is it making headlines across Africa and beyond? Let's start by understanding the core of this initiative. Traoré's government has recognized the deepening threat of climate change. With over 40% of Burkina Faso's land degraded due to deforestation and desert encroachment, the country has faced declining agricultural productivity, forced migration, and worsening poverty. Entire communities have watched once fertile lands turn into dust bowls. But Traoré is not one to sit idly by. Known for his bold speeches and fearless action, he addressed the nation and declared, "We will not watch our land die. We will revive it tree by tree, root by root, and we will do it together." The plan is massive in scope and detail. It's not just a symbolic gesture. The 20 million trees are being carefully selected to match the local ecosystem's drought-resistant species such as acacia, baobab, moringa, and neem, which not only survive in arid climates but also offer nutritional, medicinal, and economic value to local communities. This green campaign is being integrated into a broader national development strategy, which includes food sovereignty, youth employment, environmental sustainability, and security. Over 500,000 volunteers, including students, farmers, civil servants, and soldiers, are taking part in planting activities. Schools have included tree planting in their curricula. Local leaders are supervising their regional planting quotas. Even mosques and churches are preaching the message of environmental stewardship. One of the most innovative aspects of the program is how it's linked to peace building. In regions previously torn by violence from terrorist groups and armed militias, reforestation zones are being used as green buffer zones, places where communities rebuild trust and reclaim territory from chaos. In Traoré's words, "Our trees will stand where no soldier could. They will guard our soil, shelter our people, and reclaim our pride." The impact is already being felt. Reports from regions like Sahel, Nord, and Center Nord show that the local temperature has started to stabilize slightly in planted zones. Farmers are noticing improved soil moisture. Women in villages are collecting leaves and fruits for food and medicinal use. Bees have returned to areas once thought lifeless. International environmental organizations and African leaders are taking note. Several have pledged support in the form of seeds, tools, and technical expertise. Senegal's Minister of the Environment called it a monumental turning point for the Sahel region. The African Union has hailed Burkina Faso's move as a model for climate resilience. But this initiative is not without its challenges. The logistical demands of transporting seedlings across remote and insecure regions are high. Watering the trees, especially in the dry season, requires community coordination and innovation. Some critics argue the numbers may be hard to verify or that political motives are behind the effort. Yet, the overwhelming public support and grassroots participation are silencing many of those doubts. People are not just watching, they're acting. Social media in Burkina Faso is filled with photos of youth groups planting trees with captions like, "This is our future," and "Captain Traoré, we stand with you." It's become a national Movement. Environmental experts believe that if the trees survive and thrive over the next 5 years, the long-term benefits could be historic. The project could improve food security, reduce migration pressures, and inspire other African nations to adopt similar grassroots-driven environmental strategies. Beyond the immediate effects, this tree planting campaign carries a powerful symbolic message that even in a country facing conflict and economic pressure, hope can be planted literally. That leadership rooted in service to the land and its people can make a real difference. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has declared war not with guns, but with green. And this war is for life, for sustainability, for future generations. In an age of political uncertainty and environmental breakdown, Burkina Faso's initiative is a rare and refreshing story of courage, unity, and vision. As the first million saplings begin to rise across the Burkinabe landscape, they carry with them more than leaves. They carry the hopes of a nation reborn. So, as Africa watches and the world listens, one thing is clear. Burkina Faso is no longer just fighting to survive, it is growing to thrive. And this, truly, may be the beginning of a new era. Burkina Faso, often ranked among the poorest nations in the world, has for decades battled the harsh realities of underdevelopment, energy poverty, and rural isolation. But now, under the fearless leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the nation is witnessing a silent but powerful revolution, a solar revolution that is bringing light, hope, and economic opportunity to even the most remote corners of the country. In a recent national address, Traoré declared, "No child in Burkina Faso should do their homework under candlelight. No woman should give birth in darkness. No village should be left behind because it is off the grid. The sun shines on us all, and now it will power our future." The plan? To install solar mini-grids and rooftop systems in over 5,000 villages. Within the next 2 years. The urgency is clear. More than 60% of Burkina Faso's population lives without access to reliable electricity. In many rural areas, people rely on kerosene lamps or wood fires, methods that are expensive, toxic, and environmentally destructive. Without power, schools lack lighting and equipment, clinics cannot store vaccines, and businesses are forced to close after sunset. Traoré's administration, understanding the link between energy and empowerment, partnered with engineers, youth, organizations, and international donors to design a decentralized solar deployment program. The approach is grassroots, fast, and community-led. Local solar cooperatives have been formed, where villagers are trained to install and maintain panels. Women, often excluded from technical roles, are being trained as solar technicians under the Women of the Sun initiative. Young graduates are getting hands-on experience in renewable energy, a sector now seen as one of the nation's greatest sources of employment. One village in the Southwest region, once completely dark after 6 p.m., is now buzzing with life late into the evening. Children study with LED lights. A small cold storage unit is preserving fish for local fishermen. Phone charging businesses have popped up. Radio stations now operate 24/7. A midwife proudly showed her new solar-powered delivery room, saying, "This light is more than electricity, it is dignity." Funding for the initiative is coming from both national revenues and a creative new measure, a voluntary solar tax where wealthier Burkinabe citizens contribute a symbolic amount monthly to help electrify rural zones. The campaign is accompanied by the powerful slogan, "Power One, Power All." While the global community often looks to Burkina Faso through the lens of conflict and poverty, this movement is changing the narrative. Renewable energy experts from Germany, Morocco, and China have offered support. African leaders are paying attention. Traore's bold move is positioning Burkina Faso not as a victim of its geography, but as a pioneer in sustainable development. Of course, challenges remain. The high cost of battery storage, the occasional vandalism of equipment, and security threats in unstable regions make implementation difficult. But the government has responded with resilience. Mobile solar units, mounted on armored trucks, are delivering panels to hard-to-reach communities. Technical support teams are stationed strategically across regions to respond to emergencies. Even as war and instability plague parts of the Sahel, the light of solar progress is cutting through the darkness. In urban areas, Traore has also introduced incentives for households and businesses to switch to solar. The capital, Ouagadougou, has launched its first solar-powered public library and streetlight grid. Government buildings now operate on hybrid solar-diesel systems, cutting fuel costs dramatically. It's no longer just a project. It's a national identity shift. When asked why he's so focused on these ground-level changes, Traore said, "Simply, empires fall, systems collapse, but a lit home, a powered school, a child with a future, these things last." This solar revolution is not about luxury, it's about equity. It's about restoring dignity to those who have long been in the shadows of both history and policy. And it's about proving that even a small, challenged country can lead the way when vision and will come together. For the people of Burkina Faso, each solar panel represents more than a source of electricity. It is a symbol of a new national dream, one powered by nature, built by the people, and led by a captain who believes not just in power, but in empowering. Burkina Faso may still face many storms ahead, but one thing is certain: its future will not be built in darkness. In a region plagued by poverty, insecurity, and a lack of opportunity, one bold move is bringing a wave of hope across Burkina Faso and beyond. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has launched one of the most transformative initiatives in West Africa. Nationwide mission to provide free education for all children, from primary to secondary level. This isn't just a policy, it's a revolution in the making. For decades, education in Burkina Faso has been underfunded and inaccessible to millions of children, especially in rural and conflict-hit areas. Families struggled to afford school fees, uniforms, and materials. In many villages, schools were either too far away or destroyed by extremist attacks. Thousands of children were left behind, vulnerable to recruitment by armed groups or forced into child labor. But Ibrahim Traoré has drawn a line in the sand. In a historic address earlier this year, he declared, "The future of Burkina Faso will not be decided by guns, but by books. We will fight ignorance the same way we fight terror head-on, without fear." His plan is monumental. The government has eliminated all tuition and exam fees from grade 1 through grade 12. In their place, a state-supported education trust fund is covering the costs, financed through a reallocation of military and ministerial budgets, mining royalties, and new public-private education partnerships. But this move goes far beyond free school access. It includes emergency construction of 10,000 new classrooms in high-need zones, using locally sourced, eco-friendly materials, recruitment of over 15,000 new teachers, many of them young Burkinabe trained under a rapid deployment education. Mobile school units in conflict zones solar-powered. Trucks that serve as traveling classrooms for displaced children. A new Books for All campaign. Printing and distributing millions of textbooks in French and local languages. Free daily school meals for over 2 million students, sourced from local farmers under the Feed and Learn program. One of the most powerful impacts of this mission is on girls' education. In many regions, girls were the first to be withdrawn from school when times were tough. Now, with education fully funded and community outreach programs addressing cultural barriers, girls' enrollment is rising at historic rates. Special stay-in-school grants are offered to families who commit to keeping their daughters in school through age 18. In the village of Kaya, a 12-year-old girl named Azada, who once sold mangoes by the roadside, now sits proudly at her desk learning mathematics. She says, "Before, my family said school was too expensive. Now the school gives me books, food, and hope. I want to be a teacher, like Madame Fatou." Traore's campaign is also a counter-offensive against extremism. In areas once controlled by armed militants, schools are being rebuilt with local protection units and community buy-in. Children who once feared abduction or recruitment now carry pencils instead of trauma. The response from the public has been overwhelming. Parents have flooded enrollment centers. Teachers who had left the profession are returning, inspired by the national energy. Youth groups are volunteering to tutor in villages. For the first time in years, the Ministry of Education is reporting net enrollment growth above 15% in multiple provinces. Of course, the mission is not without obstacles. Some schools lack water or sanitation. Textbooks remain in short supply in certain regions. And in areas where violence still erupts, the path to education is fragile and hard-earned. But Captain Traore remains undeterred. His administration is investing in education as a shield, a way to fortify the nation not with metal and bullets, but with knowledge and unity. International organizations are taking note. UNESCO, UNICEF, and the African Union have praised Burkina Faso's model as a blueprint for education in fragile states. Several countries have pledged support, while local NGOs are receiving increased aid to help implement the plan. For Traore, this is about legacy. He has said repeatedly, "I may wear the uniform of a soldier, but I dream like a teacher. If we can educate a generation, we will liberate a nation." And every blackboard scrawled with equations, and every child reading a book beneath a tree. In every mother who now dreams of her daughter becoming a doctor, a quiet revolution is unfolding, one that no bullet can stop, one that tells the world, Burkina Faso is rising not just with weapons, but with wisdom. In a bold move that has stunned economists and inspired millions across Africa, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has announced the launch of Burkina Faso's most ambitious agricultural program in its history, a sweeping national food sovereignty plan designed to end the country's reliance on foreign food aid and imports. Announcement came during a live address to farmers in the Bukal du Mahoun region, where Traoré stood in a field of millet under the scorching Sahel sun and declared, "Burkina Faso will no longer beg for food. We will feed ourselves. From our soil, with our hands, for our people." This declaration has electrified the country. For decades, Burkina Faso has faced serious food insecurity. Climate change, desertification, poor infrastructure, and political instability have all contributed to a weakened agricultural sector. At times, the nation imported over 70% of its staple foods like rice and wheat. Rural farmers, the backbone of the economy, struggled with outdated tools, lack of access to markets, and unfair prices. But Captain Traoré's vision is clear: to transform agriculture into a strategic engine of national independence and pride. The food sovereignty plan is a multi-pronged 5-year roadmap with the goal of not only achieving self-sufficiency in food production, but also becoming a regional supplier within the West African market. Asterisk. Here's what the plan includes. Asterisk. Distribution of over 100,000 units of modern agricultural equipment to farmers nationwide, including solar-powered irrigation kits, tractors, threshers, and seed drills. Asterisk. Creation of state-owned grain reserves in every province to buffer against droughts, inflation, and supply shocks. Asterisk. A national Seeds of Freedom program to mass produce and distribute climate-resilient, indigenous seeds tailored to local conditions. Asterisk. Price protection policies that guarantee fair minimum prices for staple crops like sorghum, millet, maize, and cowpeas, ensuring that farmers profit from their labor. Asterisk. Mobilization of over 40,000 agricultural youth brigades, offering unemployed young people land training and startup capital to farm collectively. Asterisk. Establishment of women-led agro-processing cooperatives to turn raw products into flour, oil preserves, and other value-added goods. But that's just the start. One of the plan's most innovative features is the One Village, One Crop initiative, a localized strategy where each community specializes in a particular crop, based on its soil, water availability, and traditional knowledge. This promotes both diversity and efficiency. Villages are then linked to each other via the newly developed agro-market transport corridors, which use trucks, donkey carts, and even boats to move food from farm to market. Asterisk. The program also ties into Traore's environmental goals. Reforestation. Belts are being planted around farms to protect against soil erosion. Organic farming is being incentivized. Chemical pesticide use is being reduced in favor of natural solutions, preserving the health of both people and land. Asterisk. In a country where over 80% of the population is engaged in agriculture, the response has been nothing short of explosive. Asterisk. Farmer associations have pledged full support. Village elders are offering communal lands for youth-led farming collectives. Universities are sending agricultural students to the field. Families who once abandoned farming are returning to the soil with renewed hope. Asterisk. The early results are promising. Asterisk. Just 6 months after the plan's initial rollout, several provinces report 30% higher yields than last year. Market shelves in Ouagadougou are stocked with locally grown tomatoes, onions, peanuts, and yams. School meal programs are being supplied with homegrown produce, and surplus grain is now stored rather than imported. Asterisk. Captain Traore's plan is also deeply political. It sends a clear message to international donors and former colonial powers. Burkina Faso will not be a pawn in the global hunger economy. Asterisk. In his speech, Traore boldly stated, "We are not poor, we are plundered, but that ends now. With our soil, with our spirit, we shall rise." Asterisk. The international community has reacted with a mix of awe and caution. Some global food corporations fear losing market access. However, several African nations, including Mali, Niger, and Guinea, have expressed interest in replicating the model, calling it a blueprint for Sahelian resilience. Asterisk. Of course, the road ahead is not without obstacles. Banditry in some rural areas, water scarcity in the north, and limited storage facilities continue to threaten progress. But Traore has doubled down, deploying local protection units to safeguard farmlands and building new solar-powered silos to preserve post-harvest gains. Asterisk. For many Burkinab, this movement is personal. Asterisk. In the words of a farmer from Koudougou, "We no longer wait for rice from abroad. We till, we plant, we harvest, and we eat what we grow. This is freedom. This is dignity." Asterisk. The National Food Sovereignty Plan isn't just about agriculture. It's about national rebirth. Traore has made food a matter of honor. And in doing so, he's sowing more than crops. He's sowing self-belief, independence, and unity qualities that will bear fruit for generations. A. New era has begun. One where no Burkina child goes to bed hungry. And it all began with a seed and a leader bold enough to plant it